Hi, everybody. This is Alan Fine, and I'm here with Brad Tolkien again, thank goodness, to discuss the trends in travel. He's the co-chairman and CEO of World Travel Holdings, which, of course, two of the holdings are Dream Vacation and Cruise One. And we're fortunate enough to have heard your State of the Travel address again this year. And so we're going to go over that and more on Insider Travel Report. So I'm going to start right off with, I was going to always ask you about travel trends, and that's exactly what you did this afternoon. Let's talk about how it affects World Travel Holdings and, of course, Dream Vacations and Cruise One.
Well, Alan, this has been an amazing snapback. In cruise in particular, we didn't start selling until August of 2022 after the CDC, the Center of Disease Controls, dropped all of the restrictive protocols they had in the cruise industry. And we knew the snapback would be big. We just didn't know how long it would go, and it's still going in the cruise industry. And so we're 14 to 15 months into that. 2023 was the best year ever for us in cruise, and I would say for the entire cruise industry from both a volume standpoint and from a pricing standpoint. The only hiccup was probably in January, the first quarter, let's call it, because we didn't have enough time to fill the first quarter, the normal time that we need to fill a particular month or several months, because we really just started selling cruises again in August of 2022. But as I said this morning, the parade continues. Our 2024 sales on the books scheduled to depart. I mean, we're almost guaranteed right now to have our best year ever in cruising in 2024, and at very healthy pricing.
So you said, who's making $1 billion in profit?
So both Carnival Corporation and Royal Caribbean Corporation, the two largest public companies in the space, they both announced, when they announced their most recent quarterly earnings, Carnival was 6 weeks ago, Royal Caribbean was 3 weeks ago, they both announced that they made over $1 billion in their last quarter. And this is just a stunning reversal. It's good for the industry. And as I said this morning, it is critically important that we have a healthy cruise industry, which means that the cruise organization themselves have to be healthy.
And as you said, there's new products. There's no pulling back. They keep coming out.
That's correct. Right before the pandemic, there was a commitment by companies like Ritz-Carlton and Virgin to launch product. Four Seasons was just beginning. And then obviously we were hit with the pandemic. And so what has happened is Virgin now is running 3 ships. Virgin is doing really well. Our travel advisors love selling the product. They get very, very high ratings. Explorer Journeys, which is the luxury brand for MSC, just launched their first ship. I saw it in Miami a couple of weeks ago, actually. It looks beautiful. Four Seasons is more than on the drawing board. They are scheduled to come. And so
they're booked already.
Well, they are booking. And then Ritz-Carlton launched their first ship, and they immediately announced that they're changing the size of the second ship to make it bigger. So demand is phenomenal, and no one is pulling back. And some of these are iconic brands that were never in cruise, like Virgin, like Ritz-Carlton, and Virgin. And so these are non-cruise brands that have made a tremendous commitment to the cruise industry.
Absolutely. And now your own numbers, though, cruise is up 45% from 2019. Let's go over all those numbers that you brought up today.
Yep. I don't know if I know them all from the top of my head, but I'm speaking to our Dream Vacations and Cruise One. This is our franchise division. And so their cruise numbers, we still compare to 2019, Alan, because it's not fair to compare to 2020, 21, or 22. And even in 2023, even though it will be our best year ever, okay, the numbers would even be higher because our Q1 and Q2 volume was probably not where it would have been if we had the time lead to completely sell those particular quarters. So 2023 departures, these are departures, not bookings. These are up 45% to 2019 in cruise.
And then land up 20%.
And land, we do compare over 2022 because land did not have the same restrictive protocols that the CDC imposed upon the cruise industry. In fact, it didn't have any restrictions. And our land business is up 20% over our best year ever in land. And this is a big business for this division. It's no longer an afterthought.
You're already doing well in 2024. Give us some numbers, please.
Correct. So this morning I announced that the parade is continuing in terms of this incredibly healthy environment. The snapback just continues. And what we have on the books in cruise for this division, again, over 2019, because we would be comparing in 2023 against what we think were suppressed Q1 and Q2 numbers, but we're up 73% in 2024 over 2019 as of this moment.
And then land?
And land is up over our best year, which is now 2023. We're up 26% as of this morning in our land departures, again, for this division.
Now, but why? And you gave good reasons this afternoon that travel's just winning out.
Well, I also compliment our travel advisors because they are hugging, a virtual hug, of course, their clients better than they ever did. And the clients need that. We're coming out of a pandemic, but travel is winning out. It is a priority for customers. The pandemic has certainly influenced why that exists, and it is more essential post the pandemic for the consumer than it was pre the pandemic.
And they're just restructuring their life in order to do that. There was some Canadian facts you pulled.
Yes, I quoted something from Open Jaw, actually, was who released this, where I saw the study, that 48% of Canadians have restructured their budgets to now take vacations that normally would have been out of reach. And I said to the advisors, well, we don't have an exact comparison in the United States. Given that our economy is stronger than Canada, I can only imagine that our numbers are just as good or even better. And then Forbes released a study in mid-August of this year saying 49% of U.S. citizens will travel more.
You said, and you pointed out the seismic things that happened in the travel industry. You went backwards and came up to this one. Let's recap.
Yes, I talked about seismic events over my career, which is now spans 43 and a half years. And I tend to look at those and they help me navigate how I built my prior business. I used to own a company called Travel Impressions and Empress Travel, and now WTH. And right now, we are in the early innings, early stages of a seismic moment. And this was the tailwind the pandemic left us, and that is the increase in travel days. And why are travel days increasing? They're increasing because during the pandemic, we proved that we have the ability to work from anywhere. And so now a working couple no longer has to coordinate vacation time because one part of the couple who has vacation time will go, and the other part, they can go to their employer and ask, can I take this week and I will travel, I will work full time. And I tell you, there is not an employer in the nation who values an employee that's not going to say to that employee, absolutely, go ahead. We know you will work full time. And so the increase in travel days is a permanent change in my mind. Okay. And it's the seismic moment that has occurred right now. And again, we are just in the early innings of this.
So now, Dream Vacations and Cruise One, what you're the CEO of World Travel Holdings, but what do you think is the difference? What's the differentiator for them as opposed to the competition?
You know, we tend to, when we look to bring on a franchisee, our focus is more on not to get to a higher number of franchisees, but to actually make sure that that franchisee has a great shot of being successful. And in the franchise world, you have to expose a lot about the company. And quite frankly, Alan, if you looked at some of our competitive franchisees, they make more money than this particular division. And that's because WTH pours a lot of money into education because we need these people. We want these people to be successful. And so then when you look at our numbers, which is look at our commissionable income that is transmitted to the franchisees, and if you divide that over the number of franchisees, you will see, or anyone will see, that our franchisee makes more than a lot of our competition. And so we just have a great group. Obviously, we have some people that did not make it during the pandemic, but shockingly and surprisingly and encouragingly, many hung on. And we have a number of franchisees that are here this week with us that started in March of 2020 and April of 2020. And they just hung in there. They made the commitment. We did a lot of training during the pandemic, and they are reaping the reward of staying with us.
Sure. And you also said that of all the World Travel Holdings, that and the ones that are consumer facing, that the Dream Vacations and Cruise One is outpacing.
So World Travel Holdings does have larger divisions in the cruise business than Dream Vacations and Cruise One. Mm-hmm. But what we have seen since March of 2020 is that this division is growing faster than those other divisions. Now, of course, it is slightly smaller, but we think the reason it's growing faster is back to the original comment I made at the beginning of this conversation, is that these franchisees are hugging their customers more than ever. I mean, getting close, more intimate. We see the number of future cruise credits that were used by this division is higher than our direct-to-consumer business. And so what it's telling us is that the consumer wants more than ever the comfort, the professionalism, and the advice that comes with dealing with a professional travel advisor. And we do hear that trend is consistent throughout the industry from even our competitors, that the division, the travel advisor divisions of those entities, or they might be 100%, but they're doing well. Right. And so it's not. And so what I'm saying is, this is a consumer mindset.
You are also the CEO of the larger company, and you have to diversify. And so you talked today about the opportunity to work with Booking.com, and how does that affect the big picture?
So Booking.com is the world's largest online travel agency. They're headquartered in Amsterdam. They own Priceline.com. And over the summer, they put out an RFP, a request for proposal, to handle their newly launched cruise division. And we announced yesterday publicly that WTH won that account. And so for all divisions of WTH, it will give us obviously a lot more volume, more buying power, and the ability to give more exclusive offers to the entire organization. And that includes Dream Vacations and Cruise One.
So can you share the World Travel Holding Dream Vacations Cruise One long-term vision and strategy that you have?
You know, Alan, the strategy is just to continue what we're doing. I mean, the numbers that I have reported are incredibly healthy. Why reinvent the wheel? We're being assisted by a tremendous product. We're sailing this week on the Carnival Celebration. This is the second ship in a new class for Carnival Cruise Lines. The first one came out, I believe, in early 2022 or late 2021, called the Mardi Gras. We've had a wonderful week aboard this ship. The product is amazing. The food is incredible. And many advisors who have not sailed the Mardi Gras, and this is their first exposure to, I'll call it the new class of ships in Carnival Cruise Line, said, holy cow, this is amazing. This is not the Carnival we remember. And so this is why we do these things. Most of our competitors no longer hold their annual conventions on a cruise. They sometimes use inaugurals, and inaugural is not the same thing as a regularly scheduled revenue cruise. We've had a wonderful week.
I was going to ask you what technologies you're leveraging, but I already talked to Debbie about it. But you mentioned AI today. So what's your take on AI?
So AI is definitely going to be a game changer, and this morning I said to the advisors, we must embrace it. And WTH is following this very closely to see how it will enhance our organization, every part of our organization. And so I believe that most applications that happen with AI will make our advisors more efficient. And so embrace it. We're going to deliver some tools on AI as it evolves. We're watching it closely. Last week, President Biden announced a presidential order about AI, meaning he wants to get it right. Okay, and there's a lot of different things that they will be looking into. Obviously, security and safety, the impact on labor, and other things. But AI is here to stay.
And to wrap up, now we're up to 126,000 travel advisors. You talked about focus and how important that was in everything, all business, certainly travel advisors. If you can give us a little bit of that speech, I think it's important for our travel advisors to hear.
Terrific. I did talk about focus. That's the theme of our convention this week. And what we find is that our most successful franchisees have a focus. Sometimes it's how they go to market. Sometimes it's product. Oftentimes it's both.
So can you give me an example of that?
Yes. So we recognized the franchisee at our awards evening the other night, and he has a focus on how he goes to market, and how he goes to market is by organizing bridge groups, players that travel together for the purpose of playing bridge. Very, very successful. But he combines it also with a maniacal focus on one particular cruise line, a luxury cruise line. So he's become an expert on that particular cruise line, and so that's the product of the focus, and how he goes to market is by bridge groups, and he's become very successful.
You're saying that travel advisors should think about focusing their selling, and also you said focusing their marketing.
So there's two aspects of it. Focus is the main aspect, and certain successful travel advisors. We have one travel advisor, incredibly successful. He doesn't focus on the product. He focuses on posting videos of the cruise ship on the YouTube channel, generates a tremendous amount of leads, and he's not really concerned about the product the customer goes on. The example with the bridge groups, he's focused both on how he goes to market, which is the attraction of bridge players, and then he focuses only on luxury cruise lines.
The point is, as long as you focus, you're going to succeed, as long as it's on travel. If you focus on something else, it may not work.
That is the point. The point is that when we look across the Dream Vacations and Cruise One brands, and we look at our most successful franchisees, they all have some type of focus, real focus in the success of their businesses.
Brad, it's been a great conference. Thank you for inviting me, and it was always great to talk.
Alan, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We love having you aboard.
And this is Alan Fine for Insider Travel Report.